Hello and welcome. I am Enigmius, and this is an editorial. Now, I haven't done one of these in a while until someone pointed out to me that I hadn't, and I thought, hey, maybe I should do something about that. So, just for those who are new to this whole format, the purpose of an editorial is to present an opinion, the supporting facts behind that opinion. The purpose is to promote discussion and thought, not necessarily to ram an opinion down your throat, even if those opinions are spoken bluntly. Now, if you would like to leave your comments under this video, I would encourage you to do so, but I would ask that you restrict your comments to one comment field, not write your personal backstory in my comment section. Share the air so other people's comments can also be viewed. And also, if you're leaving an angry comment because of what I've said, just keep in mind that this is to promote thought and discussion. And if you're getting defensive, you've missed the point, thus I will not care if you are angry. You're already angry. Already someone's rah, rah, rah. But it's okay. It happens. It's YouTube. That's what people do. Now, we're talking about overpoweredness. OP, meaning overpowered. It used to have a pretty concise meaning. Now it means approximately nothing because, like so many other terms, it has evolved and come to the point where it's abused and abused and abused. So we're going to try and sort out exactly what it used to mean, see how it's evolved, and whether or not it applies in the ways that we think it is. First of all, I was taught that it basically applies only in a situation where there is competition between people. So if, for example, you are playing a game where you are competing with other people, either to kill one another or to reach an objective within that particular game, then you are in competition. And if the other group has access to something that you do not, and it makes it so it's nearly impossible to win, then that thing that they have is overpowered. Now, if they have access to it and you have access to it, but they're the only team that got it, it's not overpowered. It's just not. That's the way it works. It's not overpowered because both teams have access to it. So the question then becomes, does it need to be delivered to the players differently so that both teams have a chance to have it? Or is it just one team being a sore loser crying that they lost because the other team got the thing that made the win almost guaranteed? It's kind of like complaining that you lost in basketball and you never once got your hands on the basketball because the other team just grabbed it every time you had a chance to get it. Is it basketballs are overpowered in basketball? That's a reach, and I recognize that it's a reach, but it also illustrates the point. Now, what you're watching, I guess I should explain. This is the hard mode cobblestone furnace, making it to illustrate a point. And basically, I kind of did a little time-lapse voodoo with it so that you can watch the construction of it. Towards the end of the video, we're going to describe exactly what it is. We're going to hopefully tie everything together. Now, we're talking about this in the context of Minecraft. Now, this is primarily in the context of modded Minecraft, but even if you're playing vanilla Minecraft, it applies to you because there's no area of the gaming world right now that is not affected by these kinds of debates. And it comes down to a question, not whether or not you like a particular style of play, but whether or not the game you enjoy is going to be changed over time to a style that you don't enjoy. That's sort of the concern. That's where things kind of go sideways. If a company releases a game and it is not to my liking, I don't demand that they change it to suit my liking because I don't like it. I just go play something else. The people who like that style of game will continue to play it and they will enjoy it, and that is awesome. I'm happy for them, and I'm going to go find something that I can enjoy, and then that'll be awesome and they can be happy for me. That's how it works. If we want to kind of set the drama llama aside for a little bit and just acknowledge that people are different, it's you're happy, I'm happy, we don't have to be the same. That's fine. So what ends up happening is, from what I've seen in particular, is that there was a particular mod that became very, very popular because it was part of a particular mod pack that got a lot of views as part of a very popular YouTube crew. And this mod was called Equivalent Exchange 2, which basically did as the name implies for one aspect of it, which is gave you the opportunity to exchange items, and each item in its database had a certain numeric ranking. So say, for example, cobblestone would be 1, and then maybe an iron ingot would be 256. I don't remember what the exact value was. So that means if you wanted to exchange cobblestone for an iron ingot, you needed to have 256 cobblestone because its value was 1. The iron ingot was 256. And what happened is because it was part of a mod that allowed a certain amount of automation in the mining department, is you could set up machines that would mine for you and then feed the results into a particular machine that would exchange it for, say, diamonds. So you have an automatic miner that's taking all of the cobblestone, all of the dirt, all of the gravel, all of the sand that it digs up while it's, pursuing other interesting ores and dumping it into a chest, basically, that then converts that into diamonds. People cried that was overpowered. And the reason why they did that is because they had a vanilla mentality. And I'm not criticizing people who play vanilla Minecraft. That's not what it's about. It's about saying, here's a game called vanilla Minecraft, and then here's a mod pack that brings all these other mods that dramatically changes the way the game is played. People are coming from vanilla Minecraft thinking they're still playing vanilla Minecraft with prettier shovels, and they're pissed off that diamonds aren't the endgame item they used to be. Instead, these mods dramatically changed the way the game is played. Diamonds weren't necessarily as rare as they used to be because there were so many ways to get them, and just having access to them or anything else was secondary because there were other interesting things to do that you simply couldn't do in vanilla Minecraft. So resource gathering, even though it's central to the vanilla Minecraft game, not so much in modded Minecraft a lot of times. Resource gathering is still important, it's still necessary, but it doesn't take that front and center priority because you can automate it or you can do other things so that you can do things on a much grander scale. Another example would be things like macerators, pulverizers, grinders, all these different things that let you take the traditional vanilla Minecraft ore block and convert it into 2 of something else, which you then smelt, and you basically, for example, you take an iron ore block and you pass it through a macerator or a pulverizer, you get 2 iron dusts, which you smelt, and you get 2 iron ingots. You're basically doubling the yield of ingots that you get from your ores. People say that's overpowered because you're doubling your ore yields, not realizing that the ore yield is determined by vanilla Minecraft values and doesn't take into account all these extra things you can make with that ore. So on one side, you've got automation for the mining process that helps increase your yield that way, and then you've got these machines that increase your yield from that output, balancing it out so you've got the materials that you need in order to build the things that you want to build to do the things that you want to do. That was the purpose behind it. Somehow someone doesn't see it that way. All they see is doubles ore values, ergo overpowered. And that sort of illustrates the core of the problem, is if you look at things from the big picture and get an understanding of not only how they work, but also how they fit together, all of a sudden things that used to seem a little bit wonky make sense. Or at the very least, if there are still changes to be made, we're in a more intelligent position to put forward ideas and say, this is how things currently work, this is how it all fits together. Right now, what's not working is this one particular aspect, so if we change it to get rid of that, then everything works. And then the person in the position to make the changes says, yeah, this guy gets it, they understand what's going on, what we're trying to do, and they're right, that probably isn't working, so we can tweak it, everyone wins. That's the win-win. As long as we keep looking at things on the individual sort of micro, super narrow view blinders kind of perspective, we're going to keep having people pulling the engine out of their car trying to fix a cracked windshield, which is sort of what's going on within the modding community. And for those of you who are just like, I just play vanilla Minecraft, man, this has nothing to do with me. Right now it doesn't seem to, but don't expect that that's going to last for long, because Mojang developers tend to keep an eye on what the modding community is doing for ideas on what the community may or may not want in further updates to the game. So I'm not threatening anything. I'm not trying to be the evil guy saying all the doom is coming. I'm just saying, don't think that it's never going to happen to you, because condoms, seatbelts, and feedback to game developers, 3 things you don't take chances with. So what we're getting is kind of a ripple effect. There was one mod in particular, I'm not going to mention its name, because sooner or later someone's going to get extremely angry because I keep taking shots at it, but the people who watch my content regularly will know which one. Came out with this idea that some other mod was too easy. So he was going to go in and change it, and really made a mess, very much polarized a community that might have otherwise had half as much drama llama rearing its ugly head. And the basic premise for this mod was make it cost more materials, use more energy, and take longer to do its job. That was basically it. And what ends up happening is it turns into a grind fest. Now, people who haven't played MMORPGs maybe aren't familiar with this concept. MMORPGs early on realized that if they were going to charge a monthly subscription for people to have access to the servers that they needed access to in order to play, they had to come up with ways to keep those players occupied. So they started putting in these horrendous grinds where we're talking literally dozens, if not hundreds of hours in pursuit of some trivial benefit because there was nothing else to do. And over the years, it just became more and more apparent with each new game sort of trying to learn from what its predecessors messed up in the past, that it's not necessarily bad to have people do repetitive tasks. It's not necessarily bad to encourage them to work towards a goal, but what is bad is to make them do the same thing over and over and over again, and then just not really do a whole lot for them when they reach that milestone, right? There's got to be some moderation in the grind in order for people to be willing to do it without being extremely unhappy, because now there's competition. That's sort of the key in the MMORPG market, is that now there's competition, whereas when they first came up with this grind concept, there wasn't. If you wanted to play an online game with your pals, this is what you played because there was nothing else to play. So we've learned a lot about what people will and will not subject themselves to. And a lot of people who have subjected themselves to that in the past are now saying no more. Like, absolutely not. I'm one of those people, by the way. I've done the grind bit in other games, and now I say I don't mind if it's difficult. And when I say difficult, I'm talking about low margin for error and steep learning curve, as long as it's not a soul-sucking grind and I'm not set back the last 6 months of my life if I make a mistake. That's sort of my criteria. I'm all for challenge. I am not for grinding. But unfortunately, the people who, I have to say it, and I know I'm going to get comments about this, but the ones who maybe lack a little bit in the imagination department, they thrive on this grind. They don't really have to think too hard about it because there's nothing really different about it. It's the same thing they've been doing for hours in the past. They just do it and do it and do it, and people say, why are you doing that? Oh, it builds character, man. You just like it easy if you don't like it this way. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. No one will ever convince me that that's the truth. I've been in the high-end performance in various different games. I know what it's like to talk about skill. Digging a hole for 10 hours instead of 1 doesn't strike me as challenge. It strikes me as someone with a lot of time on their hands. And good for them. Good for them. Maybe they're retired. Maybe they're students. It's just the way things are working out for them. They got a lot of time. That's awesome. But just don't tell me that me not wanting to do that means I only want it easy. So we've got this hardcore cobblestone furnace. There are very specific building instructions. First of all, the lower half of the tower must be built underwater. The tower is 16 blocks high, so 8 blocks must be built underwater. It must be 8 by 8. It must be made entirely out of cobblestone. There must be no easy way to get into the interior of the tower, meaning that if you want to get to the cobblestone furnace, you must either bring your own stairs and get from the outside, or swim down, dig under, and then come up and use the parkour blocks on the inside. If you fall off of one of those blocks, you have to start climbing again from wherever you land. You may not remove any of the blocks from around the cobblestone furnace. You may not connect pipes of any kind. You may not use a hopper. If you forget your coal, once you get to the top, you must go back and get it, obviously, because it won't work without it. And that's it. You know, it's all vanilla materials, so I'm using a little bit higher end gear here just for example purposes, building it and showing you what it should look like. It's all cobblestone. You don't need anything special to build it. And there's hardcore. You can take your screenshot. You can show your friends. This is proof that I'm hardcore Minecraft. I don't do things the easy way because I'm hardcore. It makes me better than everyone else. And, enjoy, because the whole idea here is basically following that theme to the letter that has been brought into the modding community and spreading, sadly, throughout. That, first of all, it has to require way more materials for no damn reason. Second, it has to require way more time. So with a cobblestone furnace, it goes what it goes, but you just have to invest a little more time to get to it every time you want to use it, pick up, whatever. There's one other element that's been brought into this whole modding scenario that I'm going to leave off, and that's this new attitude of there are options in the config file for this particular mod. If you don't like a feature, edit the config and turn it off. I can edit a configuration file, text-based config file, as well as anyone. It's not something I'm intimidated by. It's not something I always want to do, but it's not, I don't want people saying, oh, you just can't do it, that's why you're mad. No. People come to forums trying to understand a new feature that they didn't really expect. It's new, it hasn't really been documented because they're changing faster than wikis can be updated. They say, I don't like this. This is kind of, I don't understand. Like, how is this supposed to be fun? The new response, apparently, the cool kids throwing around, you can disable it in the config file. Well, that's great, but what we need to remember is that sending someone into this directory under that directory with the subdirectory plus the thing to find .stuff.cfg and then scroll down to find blah 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 equals true and change it to false is a pretty frickin' stupid way to write a mod. I remember when all the people who used mods were dorks and geeks and things of that nature who were familiar with config files. It wasn't a big deal, and even then they didn't say if you don't like it, edit the config file. This cop-out nonsense with the config files. The mod creators that I respect are the ones who say, I have a vision for a mod that I would like to create, and here it is. And not, I'm going to make it hard so that the hard people are happy with it, and then I'm going to make a config, call it easy mode for the easy people to be happy with it. Just have some balls and do one mod. And then say to people, this is what I made, and if you enjoy it, then fantastic, and if you don't, I understand. That's all you need to do. Don't start acting like editing config files is this standard thing that all gamers should be expected to do, because I guarantee you the overwhelming majority of them do not appreciate it. What I do with my OP-ness is my business. You don't need to come around and tell me it's not hard enough. I am Enigmius. We'll see you next time. Take care, guys.